Once upon a time, in the land of eyeshadows, there was a kingdom called MAC Cosmetics. And everyone went to the kingdom and bought single eyeshadows. And the king of the eyeshadows was Satin Taupe. That is what I have on with my CoverGirl Leading Lady as a base. And this is what is on top. And that's all I have on for eyeshadows. I think this will always be my favorite eyeshadow of all time. However, things have changed in the kingdom of MAC Cosmetics. Things are not what they once were. There was a time when I was completely obsessed with MAC Cosmetics. I spent so much money at MAC. I was obsessed with their eyeshadows. I have a thing about eyeshadows. That's my all-time favorite makeup product. The only other eyeshadow I have by MAC right now is Soft Teddy, and this was from a limited edition collection from last year. That's all I have, because what happened was about 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago, give or take a year, somewhere in there, I became obsessed with MAC Cosmetics. I wanted all the eyeshadows. And if you know MAC, how many are there? Like, I should have looked this up before the video. Hold on. Okay, I just went to the MAC website and I've already forgotten the numbers. So let's just round it off because the exact number isn't important anyway. So there's approximately, roughly just under 100 shades if you buy it in the pot form, and then if you buy it in the Pro Pan form, there's a little over 100. And there were some new shades that I guess they just released, which I found interesting since one of them is an old shade. So why did it say new? Was it reformulated? Anyway, sidetracked. So back in those days, I was madly in love with MAC. I wanted all the eyeshadows, and as hard as I tried to get them all, they weren't cheap, you know? I started off collecting them in the pots, and then I realized at some point that it would be much less expensive to get them in pan form, but you can't get the Pro Pans at MAC counters, which is what I have down the street. And to get to a MAC store, it takes quite a while from where I live. Now, you can order online, but then you have to order a certain amount to get free shipping, yada, yada, yada. So at some point I switched over to collecting the Pro Pans, and now I had to, if I wanted them all in empty pallets, now I had to depot the ones in the pots if I wanted them all together, and it became kind of a pain in the neck. But I persisted and continued, and the point of my story is I never got them all, because in the meantime they were releasing beautiful limited edition collections, and the quality on the limited edition collections was quite good then. I don't buy MAC limited edition collections anymore, except for this Soft Teddy eyeshadow. For the most part, I don't buy anything. I don't really even pay much attention to their limited edition collections anymore because I've moved on. And not only that, but I was spending a crazy amount of money on all this stuff, and I don't have it. I'm not in that price bracket, or that I'm not in that tax bracket, I should say. So I never finished collecting all the colors. I tried, like if it was my birthday or Christmas or something, you know, I would buy a bunch of them, but I never got there. And I came kind of close though. And after I only had a few left to get, I looked at the ones from the beginning when I started, and I said to myself, this isn't safe. This is not safe to use old eyeshadows. They develop bacteria over time, and you're not supposed to keep them when they get really old. And I systematically had to start throwing them away, starting with the oldest ones. but I continued to buy the newer ones because I thought, okay, well, let's just finish the collection and then maybe I can slowly start over again. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, I didn't. I just stopped at some point and didn't buy any more and then just had to throw away more and more and more until I ended up with just these. Now, as this was all going on, this is when Urban Decay came out with their original Naked palette. Maybe couple years after that. Maybe 3 or 4 years. But anyways, they came out with their original Naked palette. Everybody lost their mind. And they said, wow, if we can have all these shadows in one palette, all these beautiful neutral shadows, and do so many different kinds of neutral looks, and then there's a little silver and black at the end for something a little different. And of course you can mix the black with the browns if you want to. And everybody lost their mind and flipped out and had to have that palette. And then we all did the math and said, wait just a minute. If you divide the cost of the palette by how many shadows are in here, why are we buying single MAC eyeshadows? Because it was a much better deal. And I think that is the point at which people started to kind of abandon single eyeshadows and move over to palettes. That was the turning point, I think, in the history of eyeshadows. And then, of course, they released Naked 2, which was like taupes, I would say. Yeah, so the first one we'll say was browns. The second one was taupes. They kept on going. Naked 3, rose gold, beautiful. But then after that, what was the fourth one? Was the fourth one Naked Smoky? Because whatever the fourth one was, I didn't buy it, even though I do like those smoky type of colors. It started to become like monotonous or too much. Like, okay, I have Naked 1, I have Naked 2, I have Naked 3. How many times are we going to do this naked scheme? You know, between those first 3 palettes, I have pretty much everything except for like maybe a rainbow palette. That's probably what they should have done for their fourth one, Naked Rainbow, which I know is an oxymoron, but you know what I'm saying? That would have like completed the gap, and then we would have all had every eyeshadow we ever needed. The rainbow trend didn't come until more recently. So in the meantime, as Urban Decay is releasing all these Naked palettes, all of a sudden people start paying attention and noticing lots of other brands. Maybe these brands were there before, maybe they were new, maybe not. But we all started to pay attention to all the brands. And it just became a situation where no matter what you did, you could never get all the stuff you wanted. It was overwhelming. We got away from the artistry of it, and it was more of a focus on the palettes themselves. The acquisition of getting whatever the coolest, most trendiest palette was. I mean, hell, we even have Trend Mood now, which tells us what the trends are. So you can't even like do it organically where you kind of just watch a video and realize what is trending. Now they tell you what's trending. And in the beginning, a lot of people did tutorials and showed people how they used different products to make different looks. And it was really fun. I enjoyed those, watching those myself. And now, I don't know, everything has changed. And now people don't buy singles anymore. The reason why I'm making this video is I was thinking about this the other day, and I was looking at my eyeshadow collection, and I've been really into collecting eyeshadow bases lately and single things of eyeshadows. Like I've bought a lot of eyeshadow sticks to use as colored bases. I bought a lot of cream eyeshadows to use as colored bases. And I was buying, but I stopped because I have plenty now. I was buying a lot of liquid eyeshadows. When Lady Gaga announced what she was releasing, that kind of revitalized my interest in liquid eyeshadows. And plus I found some that were very affordable at places like Dollar Tree and Family Dollar and stuff like that that I really enjoyed. So I looked at all these cream colored bases and liquid eyeshadows, and I said to myself, okay, so wouldn't it make more sense to use all these in conjunction with single eyeshadows? And I started like repurchasing some single eyeshadows that had to be purged that were old, like Wet n Wild Nutty and MAC Satin Taupe, like I just showed you. And in the meantime, I was still kind of buying palettes, but not as much as I used to. And then I got fascinated with Jeffree Star and started buying, I bought his collab with Morphe, and then I bought the Blood Sugar palette, and then I tried to get some of the Shane Dawson stuff, and the website was just going crazy, booting me off every 2 seconds. And I put on Twitter what happened with that. I didn't think I was going to get anything from that collection. The next morning I got up real early. Some people would consider it to be the middle of the night. And I went on my social media, and Jeffree Star was talking about how because the website was so screwed up that some of the items didn't get put on there initially. And now they had, all the chaos had died down and all the craziness had stopped. And they had put the little mini controversy palette on the website. So I ordered that. So that will be coming at some point, but I know it's gonna take forever because they have so many things to ship. So I don't know when I'm going to be getting that, but it was a blessing in disguise because I feel like I want to stop buying so many palettes and get back to basics. I don't want to go back to collecting MAC eyeshadows if that's what you're thinking. No, that's not what I mean at all. Whoa, what happened with the sun there? Let me get away from the light a little bit. So back in the days when I was collecting the MAC eyeshadows, there weren't that many choices of eyeshadows that you could buy individually that went into an empty palette. That was kind of a rarity. But things are different now. There are companies out there now that you can order eyeshadows from that are at a reasonable price and have a good selection, and the quality is either good or good enough, we'll say. Some of them I haven't tried. Actually, a lot of them I haven't tried. Years ago, they used to sell those giant pre-made palettes, like Coastal Scents had them, and what was the other company? Was it BH Cosmetics that made them? Yeah, I think so. And the quality wasn't so good on those, and the size of the pans were so tiny that you almost couldn't even get your brush in them. So those have kind of fallen by the wayside and been replaced by a lot of the pre-made palettes by Morphe, the big giant palettes, but the quality is a little bit better and the pan sizes are bigger. But that's not what I want to get, because I want to get back to the idea of not buying pre-made palettes, because think about this for a second. When you buy a pre-made palette, you're buying someone else's idea of what those colors should be and how you should use them. Wouldn't it make more sense to buy the colors that you want to buy and use them in the combination that you want to use them? If you pick out your own colors, not only are you picking out your own colors, but you can pick out things that maybe will be more complementary on your skin tone too. And the last couple of large palettes I got were the Jeffree Star ones, the Jeffree Star Blood Sugar and the Jeffree Star and Morphe one. And I look at those palettes and the quality of the eyeshadows are good. Some of the colors are really fun, but I don't find myself reaching for them that much because they're not the most practical things in the world. They do really challenge you as an amateur makeup artist, and they do make you think outside the box in terms of how you're gonna maybe use them. But I think that it makes a lot more sense to get things that are more interchangeable, because if you have like a shocking lime green, how many different ways are there to use that, really, without it looking crazy or like a Halloween look? Or like in the case of Blood Sugar, you've got all these red eyeshadows and they kind of look the same. There isn't a lot of differentiation between them. So the looks that you're going to do are not really going to look all that different, even if you combine them with the other eyeshadows in a unique way. So what I have done is I've placed a couple of orders, and I'm ordered some just single eyeshadows that go in like empty palettes, and those will hopefully be coming in, I don't know, sometime. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take to get my orders, but that's going to be like, as far as what I purchased. Those are going to be the next two things I show you. Well, I should say three things, because I am going to be getting that Jeffree Star mini palette, and I definitely want to show and talk about that, maybe do a tutorial with it. But then the other two orders I placed, I'm going to be showing those eyeshadows and eventually doing tutorials with those. And then maybe even, because I've got single eyeshadows from two different companies, maybe even doing some looks combining those two brands together. We'll see. We'll see how they, because I didn't really coordinate them together. I just had like a certain vision in mind when I ordered from one company, and then the other company, it was more just picking from what was available. But yeah, so I wanna do that, because buying all these pre-made palettes, I don't feel like they're that practical. Probably the most practical one that I bought all this last year was the Beauty Glazed one that I bought on Amazon. Because when you open that up, you've got two panels of neutrals, and then in the middle, you've got colors. Everything. Everything you could possibly want. The pan sizes are normal pan sizes. The quality of the eyeshadows are fantastic. So that was a good buy. And it's all in one palette that just folds up and ends up folding up into about maybe that size of a palette. So it has everything you could possibly need in there. But I don't know, I just really like the idea of an empty palette and putting my singles in and arranging them the way I want to arrange them. That is the most fun thing to do with eyeshadows, I think. So eventually, I would like to maybe try a couple other brands that have single eyeshadows that you can purchase individually. I'm purposefully not telling you what the companies I bought were, because I want you to be surprised. But yeah, this isn't going to be the end of it. I would like to try some things I have never tried before. The two companies that I ordered from recently, one is somebody that I know what their eyeshadows are like because I've had them before, and the other one I have never tried. And I took a leap of faith, went out on a limb, and ordered quite a few of them. So I hope they're good. But yeah, so you'll see when I get those orders. So I'm not gonna hold you up any longer, but I just, tell me your thoughts on this subject. I think we've all fallen into the pre-made palette world, and I don't know. I don't I don't like it. I prefer single eyeshadows, and I want to get back to my roots of doing that. I wish that I hadn't fallen into the palette trap because, like I said, it's somebody else's idea. Why would you want to buy a palette that somebody else picked out the colors when you can pick out the colors yourself? And so that's it for today, you guys. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and I will hopefully see you next week. Bye.